Nigel Farage's nationalism exposed, a champion of Little England, courts global elites and Nomad Capitalist events. We're going to read into this more from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an argument piece from Byline Times with the headline that Nigel Farage's nationalism has been exposed. A champion of Little England, courts global elites and Norman capitalist event. While the reform leader portrays himself as a champion of England's white working class, his personal actions align far more with the interests of the ultra-wealthy and the global elite. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. When is Nigel Farage actually going to start changing ordinary people's lives for the good, which so many of you believe in? You know, this is a guy that keeps talking. But when is he actually going to deliver that change that he keeps talking about? When is he actually going to make that difference? Oh, it's when he becomes Prime Minister. That's when it is. Well, you do realise he does have some power as an MP. You know, I've said this before and I've said this again, you know, judge him on what he does in Clacton, because he has no excuses not to improve the lives of the people of Clacton as an MP now. He has no excuses. He can make changes. He can make a difference to people's lives there. He has responsibilities that he needs to deal with. And if he shows that, then you have all the more the case that you can make that Nigel Farage should be Prime Minister. But if you're simply backing him just because of what he said, is that really just enough? Isn't it what Keir Starmer said, action, not words? You know, I said when Nigel Farage became an MP, let's see what he does. Let's see what he does for the people of Clacton. That's what I said. You know, that's what I want. I want to see that. And already, like literally a month and a half, or I think 2 months or so, into his premiership, what was going on? He was spending time in already jumping off to America to see his friend Trump, who didn't want to see him. He wasn't spending a lot of time in Clacton, was the understanding. He still hasn't set up an office. Apparently, he was told not to set up an office, which, by the way, was dismissed by the House. Allegedly he said they told me not to set up an office because of safety, and that's absolute nonsense, not true. There are plenty of ways he can have those discussions with his constituents, completely, and doing it perfectly safely. There's plenty of people there in the House of Parliament, plenty of people and clerks that can assist him on how to do that if he feels that he's scared of doing that, even though he's clearly been shown to be sitting in pubs with lots of ordinary people apparently as well, but for some reason he can't do that with his constituents for some reason. Yeah, you know, and yet that he's the good guy in all this. Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. This guy is not for you. Doesn't care about you. Doesn't care about your problems. Doesn't care about your needs. And you think all your problems, all your issues, all lie around immigration. And you couldn't be further from the truth. We're in a cost of living crisis. We went through a COVID pandemic. We left the European Union. We had benefits with being part of the EU. Brexit happened as a result of this man who played his part in the Leave campaign. And this man kept telling you so many times, over and over again, that it's always someone else's fault. Things will get better. It's like, we leave the EU, our lives will improve. He lied then. He said if Brexit didn't work, he would leave the country. He still hasn't left the country officially. This man is a proven liar. He's a proven liar. But some of you will still stand by him regardless. Because you refuse to listen to anyone or anything else. And that's the bubble that you're in. You don't want to go out of that bubble. That's your choice. But hopefully, this argument piece may open your eyes to some things While you guys still think that he's fighting for your corner, Nigel Farage is spending time with the ultra wealthy and global elites, which he says are going after you and your money. So on the 4th of August, the High Commission of Malaysia in the UK issued a warning to its citizens living there. In the wake of the far-right protests and violence, it urged Malaysians to stay away from protests earlier, remain vigilant and follow the latest updates. One Malaysian national told the country's leading paper that her Muslim colleagues, especially those wearing hijabs, felt unsafe using public transportation. And less than 2 months later, the one man who, it was reported, half of voters thought was responsible for the riots is in Malaysia making a quick buck. Nigel Farage is scheduled to speak at the Nomad Capitalist Live event in Kuala Lumpur from the September the 25th to the 28th, an international conference aimed at helping the global rich minimise taxes, obtain multiple citizenships, and move wealth offshore. Yeah, because that's definitely something Nigel Farage should be doing. Yeah, definitely. Raul, he speaks for ordinary people here, and what better way to stand and speak for ordinary people than by, spending time with the global rich in minimising their taxes, helping obtain multiple citizenships, and helping move their wealth offshore. Yeah, that's definitely it. And there he is, a Reform leader Nigel Farage speaker profile on the Nomad Capitalist Live website there. There you got it there. It is a gathering that caters the very international elites Farage claims to despise and seems to expose a deep contradiction at the heart of his politics. Farage has long styled himself as a defender of the distinctive brand of English nationalism, appealing to white working class disillusionment by globalisation and immigration. His political career, from UKIP to the Brexit Party, has been built on the narrative of restoring Britain's sovereignty, planting the EU as a symbol of betrayal by the international elites. And yet some people still blame the EU for all their problems when we left the EU. Farage's populist message promised to take back control from Brussels bureaucrats, but he's also cleverly tapped into a nostalgic vision of Little England, invoking an era of secure jobs, warm beer, and predominantly white English-speaking society. Sounds very racist, doesn't it, when you think about it? Because the reality is that we're actually a multicultural country, but people want to go back. And you guess what? You can't. We are a multicultural country. Multiculturalism, in fact, of many different wonderful people who have been born and raised and lived their lives here, contributed just like any other person. But apparently you have a problem with that. He has long attacked the so-called global elites that he's going to be speaking to. And he has condemned them for taking down Britain, while condemning for anti-Semitism for calling the former Home Secretary Graham Sharps a globalist. And that the economic disaster that was Liz Truss' tenure in number 10 was because of a globalist attack. Really? You really think Liz Truss's mini budget with Kwasi Kwarteng was because of the globalist? No. I'm not in economics, but even I know, that was on her. It is perhaps not without irony that another leading Malaysian newspaper, the Daily Salah, recently reported on Farage spreading misinformation in the UK during the riots. The others featured heavily in Farage's political posturing. Immigration has been a vocal point in Farage's rhetoric, and his infamous breaking point poster during the Brexit campaign, which he deprived a long line of migrants, showcased the populist tactics of stoking fear and division. He then alighted on Stop the Boats as his next Pharmasol Lone Star. Yeah, you remember this? Do you remember this poster, guys? I remember this poster. They told us that the Turkeys were coming, they're going to join the EU, and they were all going to come here. They told you the Turkey was going to join the EU, and all the Turks were going to come here. Has that happened yet? Oh, no, it hasn't happened. That must be he lied to you. Oh, what a shame. And you're still going to agree with him. Farage's message has been clear. Blame uncontrolled immigration for economic hardship, wage stagnation, and strained public service. Then argue that the political elites are betraying ordinary Brits in favour of foreign powers. The contradictions then between Farage's national rhetoric and his personal actions, self-evident today in Malaysia, are stark. In a promotional video for Nomad Capitalist, Farage has lambasted the alleged brain drain in the UK, blaming the then Conservative government rules on non-doms for causing the exodus of wealthy individuals. And he praised the event organisers for offering advice on how to escape UK tax burdens. At Nomad Capitalist, Farage will share the stage with figures such as Doug Caskey and Nigel Capitalist, who advocates for reducing state control over the ultra-wealthy, and Salah Amos, an advocate for decentralizing finance through cryptocurrency. These speakers champion the very global mobility that Farage's national rhetoric opposes. Of course, a different kind of those migrants on Cali's shores are poor, where the audiences in Kuala Lumpur has the agencies and wealth to travel without cumbrance. This isn't the first time Farage's actions have contradicted his rhetoric. His close ties to transnational figures such as Donald Trump and Steve Bannon, and his numerous appearances on America's media platforms have shown his willingness to operate within the global elite circles he publicly denounces. Yeah. There he is with Matthew Richardson, Mercer UK lawyer and UKIP secretary there. Robert Mercer, founder Residence of Technology, Cambridge Analytica. You remember Cambridge Analytica, guys, don't you? Yeah, you remember that? Events like Nomad Capital underscore how flexible his nationalism truly is. While he portrays himself as a champion of the concern of English white working class, Farage's personal actions align far more with the interests of the ultra-wealthy and global elites. The Reform leader has faced accusations of hypocrisy, despite claiming that over 30,000 worth of plane tickets to the US were from a friend and not really gifts. Yeah, so for all you kicking and screaming about, Labour and the gifts that they've been saying, you obviously were furious, obviously, with what was happening with the Conservatives with the amount of money that they were throwing away. But, you're not going to say anything about Farage, are you? You're not going to say anything about £30,000 worth of plane tickets were just from a friend and not really gifts. Yeah, you're going to say that's definitely nothing wrong there, are you? Yeah, of course. Farage held up a pair of glasses during his speech at the party's conference near Birmingham, telling the audience, "They were very expensive and I bought them myself." In contrast, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has accepted several pairs of glasses valued at £2,489 in total from the Labour peer Lord Wadid Ali ahead of July's general election. I've already spoken about numerous times about how they should not have accepted these gifts. I've already said that on record and I'll say it here. Last month, Farage insisted he was fully committed on his role as MP for Clacton after making a second trip to US in quick succession. He claimed to have visited the Essex town a couple of days a week since July. In an interview with BBC, he stated, "I intend to be successful as an MP for this area. Am I going to take this job seriously? You bet your life I am." Like I always said, we will see how Clacton has changed under his watch. Abroad again, though, he seems the contradictions of Farage's politics are coming to the fold. While he publicly rails against globalism and advocates for British sovereignty, Farage is simultaneously courting those who seek to evade the very state structures he claims to defend. As Farage continues to count the very elites he claims to despise, the question for his supporters is whether they will continue to tolerate these glaring inconsistencies. No, they will completely ignore the inconsistencies despite them being right in their faces. They will ignore the inconsistencies. You're going to say that it's perfectly all right for Farage to go to these conferences and whatnot in the comments below because you're big Farage supporters. You're going to say what he's doing is perfectly all right. It's okay that he takes all this money, that he helps the global rich and the elite. You guys have no problem with that. Because as long as he helps me out, because he knows what's best for me. He's not a working class man, by the way. He's not a working class man. He's been brought up by private education and all that as well. He's literally part of the global elite, but you think he's not. But anywho, you wanna dive into that. That's your opinion, but it's ridiculous. I remember when everyone joked about Boris Johnson because he thought he had potential to be prime minister and he ended up being prime minister. This guy is a threat to British democracy or English democracy, if you want to call it whatever you want to call it, or whatever we are now. He will not serve your interests. His interests are only himself and the rich and the wealthy that will pay him into doing so. If you honestly think this man is going to do you good, trust me, if he becomes prime minister, everyone's lives are going to be worse off, and I mean everyone's lives except those in the wealth and the power, the wealthy and powerful. Listen to what he says. Listen to things that he said in the past. He's a proven liar. Don't trust him. What do you guys honestly think? What do you guys make of Nigel Farage's nationalism? Him going to a Nomad Capitalist event, hanging out with the rich and the wealthy and billionaires that obviously look to secure their money. Obviously, definitely nothing wrong with that, according to his supporters. But let me know what you guys honestly think down in the comment section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.